Hello and welcome to day 4 of Vlogmas. I am on a roll. Today I will be making a very simple project. Now there is some fan sounds going on because I am re-uploading yesterday's video because it got unexpectedly cropped at the wrong place and that was not great. I uploaded it at 2 a.m. this night because I went a bit over time and it took a while to edit and it was dragging out a bit. And I watched it this morning and I realized 10 minutes were magically missing. So today's pattern will be making one of the simplest things ever. We are making a full circle skirt. This is the Love Notions skater skirt. It goes from size 2T to 16. So it is a kid's pattern. Now technically I could fit into a smaller size, but I'm gonna go with the biggest one because I am not really into mini skirts. Having 2 small kids, I'm just gonna cut out the pattern. Normally I trace it, but seeing as I'm making the biggest pattern, I'm thinking that I could just cut it out and still trace the smaller sizes. So I'm just gonna go one piece at a time. And this has been rolled up for a while. So I just beat it into submission. I should probably have some kind of attack plan. I don't. We are not smart like that. And the fan died. That's great. Put that on there. I don't know why I didn't do that sooner. Now I definitely could have drafted the skirt pattern myself, but I didn't want to. It's not like I'm super bad at math or anything, but I would rather be sewing. A full circle skirt isn't that hard to draft yourself. So if you're making it in 4 panels like this, you need your waist measurement or wherever it's gonna sit, and then you divide it by 4 if you're making a 4th and then cutting it on the fold, because usually you can't fit the whole full circle skirt on a pattern unless it's a short one. So the waist measurement divided by 4 is this upper line, and you use one of those compasses when you make it, or a pin, a string and a pen works fine too. and then the measurement from here to here, that's the length of it. And then you use the same point to trace along the bottom. But I figured I don't want to do that. I want to just sew. Can I find a pattern so that I can just sew it instead? And I did. I also forgot to put a tape over where there's a split between pattern pages. And I don't want that to be gaping or moving around. There we go. So, if I didn't already say so, this is Love Notion's skater skirt. And that's what we will be making today. So, this is the fabric I will be using. Now, I am one of those people that really likes skulls for some unknown morbid reason, I'm sure. So I saw this fabric and I went, ooh. So I am gonna find my pattern. This one is marked with an arrow for the grain line. So there are always, or most of the time, like little vertical lines on the fabric from when I was woven. And those generally run along the grain line. If not, there is usually some kind of edge that tells you where it is. This fabric doesn't have that either. But it can be that it's a little stiffer, or you'll see small holes from where it was attached while weaving. Nothing, which is actually great, because then I can probably go all the way out if I want to. It also says to place it on the fold, and that's on that side, so I'm gonna just flip it over. It doesn't matter. And then I'm gonna unroll the bottom a little bit. Now I have gone over this one and made sure that there are no creases. Now, as always, I don't have pattern weights, so I'm placing random objects around it. And then I'm gonna cut it out using my rotary cutter. I ran out of table. It's not great. Now I don't want to cut on my table, and I also don't want to move my fabric because I am not confident enough that I will be able to make that. So we are cutting it out with the scissors. One skirt panel done. Now, if this wasn't a directional print, we might have been able to get away with doing one on the other end, but seeing as this one has skulls and they're all facing the same way, then half my skirt would have the skulls upside down. Now, another good idea is to iron your fabric before you're using it, because creases can potentially add a little bit of width somewhere where you don't want it. Now, I did actually iron this one, but I bought 2 meters, and that's a little bit more than 2 yards. And, well, my ironing board is kind of small, and it was just creasing while I was ironing it, so I kind of gave up somewhere. So this skirt panel isn't really ironed out. I'm gonna put a little mark with my fabric marker right there. And then smooth it out again. Now I'm first gonna take my skirt panel and I'm gonna try to match up the rows of skulls somewhat. That's one good thing about having the tissue pattern. One good thing about having the tissue pattern is that you can see right through it and line stuff up. Now I think I managed to line it up properly. One easy way to check that, or easy-ish, is to simply line up the fabric and see if it makes sense. It does. Now a little bit of each will disappear in seams, but it's still gonna look better than if a skull is here and the other one is up here. And this time I think I actually managed to get almost all of it onto my cutting mat, which is clearly an improvement. Also, is it just me, or is the sound of the rotary cutter like one of the most satisfying things ever? So I'm just gonna snip the last part off with my scissors. Now I've got a fair amount of fabric left. I don't know, maybe I'll make a tiny matching circle skirt for my daughter and piss everyone off, because she is obviously too young for skulls. Or I will use it in some lovely mishmashed clothes. Maybe the body of a raglan shirt and have black sleeves. Now I've got my two skirt pieces. They are not exactly matched, but I think that they will be close enough. Now I have some black jersey. And I am thinking about whether I should use it as a waistband. And I'm not completely sure if it's close enough in color. But I think I will use it anyway, because I don't like having patterned waistbands. I mean, for one, it makes it rather hard to match up the edges. And the second reason is that I don't think a whole skull will fit on here. Because this is gonna be cut on the fold, so it will be twice as long, but then you're gonna fold it, so it's just gonna be this size. So I think it might actually be better to just have a solid black waistband, even if it's a little off color-wise. Now this one does have the edge, selvage edge I was talking about. I'm not sure if it shows, but it is a stiffer kind of feeling. So as this one has that, I'm just gonna fold it over. Check how long it is. And we want to start after that. So about yay wide. So about yay wide. And you don't want any folds in here either. So flatten out. Oh, and I always wash my fabric before making anything with it. Just to make sure that it doesn't shrink afterwards. Because if you're making something to fit your measurements, it's kind of sad if it shrinks and you can no longer wear it after the first wash. And that's my waistband. And my skirts cut out. Now I don't think it matters that they are not completely matching in color, because I never wear my shirts tucked in, so it won't really show. Now if it is a project that you know that you will be wearing and not just a, well, I don't really care because it's just a mock-up, make sure to use the right color of thread. Or at least something that is so similar that it won't really be seen. Now, the first thing I will be doing is I'm gonna take the sewing machine and move it a little bit. I'm gonna take the skirts and I'm gonna align them right sides together. And I'm gonna be a good human being and pin it along this edge all the way to the bottom, making sure not to stretch the fabric while I do it. Now both sides of my fabric is pinned down, so I'm gonna sew along the edges where I'm pinned. And I'd like to do it from the top down. Now the pattern tells me to use a 3/8 seam allowance, so I'm gonna do that, and seeing as it is a jersey fabric, I'm gonna use a stretch stitch. And I'm gonna go get my glasses because I can't see anything. Glasses collected. Now, 3/8 of an inch. It's 1 centimeter. You are using my measurements. Now I am debating whether I should finish these seams off or leave them as they are for a little while and hope that they don't fray. Now, ideally I would have wanted to do this with a serger. Mine hasn't arrived. I actually discovered that even though it said that it would be in stock, it wasn't. And they didn't know when it was gonna come in, so I cancelled the order today and I got it from another place. I think this will just have to be zigzag, because I am way too excited. About this skirt, so I have a feeling that unless it fits absolutely horribly, I will be wearing it a lot. Now, before I do anything, I will check on the other side that I haven't missed any parts greatly or made any wrinkles. There's 2 finished seams. I don't really like the look of the zigzag ever, but it will have to do. Now I'm gonna take my waistband, make sure that it is folded right sides together. I can't see anything. I'm gonna go put on another lamp. Yes. And this isn't really a long seam, so I'll just put a few pins in. Give like 3. Now I absolutely hate stopping to pull pins out, so I am one of those stupid people when it comes to sewing. It's like, oh no, I will be fine. I'll just not pin, or I'll pin the absolute bare minimum. Don't be me. it's not great to be me. But I did also order some wonder clips, so I will see if I like those better. Because, you know, Black Friday. And I always start a little bit in and backstitch and then sew. And now I'm gonna shut that light off and hope that it shows better. No. I guess let me go get my light. Well, joke's on me, because I got another light. This one that's over here now was lighting from the other side, but I can't for the life of me figure out how the other light worked or works. And of course, no instructions were included. So yeah, I did make a seam. Now I'm gonna fold it over so that the wrong sides are facing each other. Now, lining up those edges. And also lining up the seams. So I'm putting my pin through the first seam, and hopefully it pokes out through the other one. That's gonna be good enough. It's not like we'll see the edge through the other side. Because one side will be the inside of the band and one side will be the outside. But for practical purposes, to make sure that stuff isn't awkwardly skewed, that's what you want to do. Now, if it was like the cuff of a sleeve, you'd probably want to be fairly precise. Now you fold it over itself to find the other side. And then you want to make sure that those edges are also lining up. Don't be me and prick yourself. And then you want to double check that you put it in the right place. And no surprise there, I didn't. And then you want to find the quarter points, so you put them together like that. And then you want to put a pin in this end. And now you want to do the exact same thing to the skirt. But here we do know that the seams are halfway points, so you only need to put the seams together and put a pin, it's always good to double check. And now for the fun part. We are gonna decide which one's the back and which one's the front. And we're gonna turn this skirt right sides out. And the waistband goes on the outside. Now I want these seams to be in the sides, because I don't want the seam going down the center front. So I'm gonna take this seam that I want in the middle back, and I'm gonna align those two pins. And pin it. And then I wanna take this pin and match it up, and match it to the edge too, with that seam. The same for the other side. And now, generally speaking, I want my seams on the inside to be going towards the back. Now, the waistband is quite a bit smaller than the skirt top, so I'm gonna have to stretch this like a beast. Not quite sure how to do that. I am starting to realize that this might not have enough stretch to want to cooperate with my shenanigans. So basically what I'm gonna do is just do the exact same thing I did. Find the middle. Now you could essentially be matching it to the middle to infinity. That sounds extremely tedious. Making sure that I will actually stretch out to the size. And yeah, no need to see me do all of this. Now, my waistband is all pinned to the skirt. And I'm gonna remove this. I just remembered why I always pin the waistband on the inside, even though like 99% of all the instructions tells you to pin it on the outside. I like to just put it around. Now, I guess I'll just put my table back, because I've found that the less it's hanging, the less it pulls and the neater it is. So I'm actually gonna start my seam over here. And I don't think my table is helping all that much. Now I of course want this to be stretchy too, because a skirt that doesn't fit you sounds fairly useless, and this part will obviously go above your butt and down quite a few times, so stretch stitch it is. Now I'm gonna sew as close as I dare to the needle and then take it out. Now, one of the reasons you want to sew from the skirt side is that the skirt is obviously bigger and therefore more prone to ruffles, or folds rather, and you don't want that. So if you can see that it is laying as it should, then it is easier. Now this one is being stretched out, so it will almost always be laying as it should. And now I like to try to keep equal tension on the front and the back. a pin fell out. That's not great. Oh, and if you're fiddling around in front, remove the foot from your presser foot. What? From the pedal. Remove your foot from the pedal if you're fiddling around in front of the needle to minimize the sewing accident. I will see if it wants to lay the way I want it to. Now I've gone all the way around. Now what I'll do is I'll press the hem, which is, it's a lot. Up 1 centimeter to the wrong side. Actually, I wanna first do a, no, actually I'm gonna sew over the edge and encapsulate it. So I'm gonna press it 1 inch up all the way around. Now I'm gonna be my usual lovely self and switch out the thread for non-matching one, because I'm gonna try to use this one as my second thread. So I'm switching the black out for green. A very, very dark green. I'm hoping that it will be fine. I will be using a twin needle. So now, even though I so lovely iron this edge down all the way around, I am going to also pin it. So I'll do the same thing as I did when I ironed it. I'll fold it over, I'll measure that it's 1 inch. And I'll put a pin in it, like, listen, uncooperative pin, like so. But preferably from the other side. All the way around. Okay, it's now like 4 years later. And I have pinned all around. And now I'm going to try to sew this down without accidentally pinning myself to the skirt. Now I want to first off make sure that this one is laying the right way, which it isn't, because that would of course be too nice. We can't have that. Now I'm going to mostly feel my way. I might actually cheat a little bit here in the beginning. And put a little mark. And I want to line that mark up with the center. And ideally, seeing as it is all pinned up 1 inch, I will have the same stays all around. Now I'm putting a strip of washi tape down as a guideline. And I will hopefully catch the seam allowance. Now that I've gone a little bit, I am gonna check that I did catch the seam allowance, and I did. So then this should be working. I'll just continue onwards. And done. Now, excuse the wet hair situation. I somehow ended up taking a shower. Creative process? Maybe? Who knows? Anyhow, as I said, a circle skirt is a really simple project, but it also takes quite a bit of time if you're making a full circle skirt. But I am done. Normally I would give it a little bit of an ironing to tidy it up a bit extra before showing it off, but I do love this skirt. I am so happy with it, so I just put it on. So you will have to deal with the wrinkles. Now let me see if I can show this off. I'll just stand on my chair. It is lovely, hitting me right at the knees, like just about halfway down the knee, and that is a good length for me, I think. And then if I crouch down a little bit, waistband is hitting me right at the waist. And being a full circle skirt, it is quite the length of fabric, which does give it a lot of twirl factor. Where's that second hem? There. So this would be my skirt length, or width. So as you can imagine, it is quite flowy. And I am super happy with it. So I wonder what I will make next that will make me this happy. Because yesterday I found a bralette that I was like, oh my god, I love it. Today I made a skirt and I'm like, oh my god, I love it. So yeah. This is the inside of the hem. I managed to stitch fairly close to the edge, so I don't think that it will be unraveling. And on the right side, since I used a twin needle, there is two perfectly parallel lines. And I don't think it is obvious at all that I used a green thread. And I used a green thread on the bottom because I used my black bobbin as the second thread on the right side. That's another little tip. So yeah, I am now done at the time where I usually start. So instead of having like 2 hours to finish up sewing, I have just been going at it slowly, very stresslessly over the afternoon, because my kids aren't here to disturb me. I love them. I love them so much, but it's kind of hard to be crafting while they are near. So I think I will be spending these next hours until my bedtime probably knitting a little bit, because I ran out of thread for my crocheting, and planning what I'm gonna make tomorrow. Now, I've got projects for days, probably months. I've got one that I really need to finish and one that I should finish, but I think I'm gonna cast on something new and something cute. Something that hopefully doesn't take all too long. This one. I'm gonna make it in size 1 to 2 years old, and I'm gonna make it for my daughter. Because somehow she is the, I don't know, she's like a black hole just sucking in all of my knitting power. And I love it. Because she is tiny, so the projects are fast, and they're always cute because they're tiny. It's perfect. So I'm gonna go and see if I can find any of the right needle sizes, and then I'll just sit and knit for a bit in my new skirt.